Have you ever felt like people only remember you when they need something? Like your phone stays silent until the moment someone has a problem. And somehow, you're always the one adjusting. Canceling plans, skipping rest, pushing your own life aside, just to make sure everyone else is okay. And you tell yourself, it's fine, I'm just being kind. But deep down, you feel tired. Not physically, emotionally. If that sounds familiar, then this story might feel uncomfortably real. Because sometimes, the hardest lesson isn't about being selfish. It's about realizing you can't keep abandoning yourself and still call it kindness. Before we begin, if you enjoy stories that remind you of your worth and help you grow stronger from the inside out, then take a moment to subscribe to this channel. Because every week, we share powerful stories like this one. Stories about confidence, self-respect, and learning how to protect your peace. So if that's the kind of journey you're on, you're in the right place. Now, let's begin. In a quiet lakeside town in Ontario, where winters were long and neighbors still waved from their driveways, lived a man named Ethan Parker. Ethan was in his early 30s. He worked a simple job at a local hardware store. Nothing glamorous, but he was the kind of person everyone trusted. If an elderly neighbor needed help changing a tire, Ethan was there. If someone's basement flooded after heavy rain, Ethan showed up with towels and a pump. If a friend needed someone to talk to at midnight, Ethan answered. And he never acted annoyed. He always smiled. Always said, "Yeah, of course." People loved him for it. And they called him dependable. They called him generous. Some even said, this town would fall apart without Ethan. And at first, that made Ethan feel proud. Like his life meant something. Like being needed was the same as being valued. But slowly, without realizing it, Ethan's life stopped belonging to him. His own apartment was always half finished. A shelf he meant to install sat untouched for months. His kitchen sink dripped constantly. His car needed an oil change. His bills piled up unopened on the counter. Every time he thought, tomorrow, I'll take care of it, someone would call, and Ethan would go. Because saying yes felt automatic. Saying no felt impossible. Ethan's mother lived with him. She was getting older. Her knees weren't as strong. Some evenings she'd sit at the table, watching Ethan come home exhausted. Boots muddy, hands scraped, eyes heavy. One night, she said softly, "Ethan, do you ever rest?" Ethan chuckled. "I'm fine, Mom." But she didn't smile. She looked at him carefully. "You help everyone in town? But when do you help yourself?" Ethan didn't answer. Because honestly, he didn't know anymore. Helping others had become his identity. And without it, he wasn't sure who he was. He thought, one day people will notice. One day someone will show up for me. One day all this kindness will come back around. But days passed, weeks passed, and Ethan kept giving, and giving, and giving, until one evening, life finally forced him to see the truth. It was late October. The air was sharp. The radio warned of a major storm coming in. Heavy wind, rain, possible flooding near the lake. The town moved quickly. People pulled in patio furniture, covered gardens, the boarded-up loose windows. Ethan stepped outside, saw the sky turning dark, and immediately grabbed his jacket, but not to protect his own home. He ran across the street to his friend Lucas Bennett. Lucas was standing in his driveway, panicked. tools still scattered everywhere from a weekend project. "Ethan, thank God, I need help before this hits." Ethan didn't hesitate. They worked fast, dragging equipment inside, covering wood with tarps. Lucas kept saying, "You're saving me, man." Ethan just nodded, heart racing. Rain began to fall, harder, colder. And suddenly, Ethan realized his own place, his own small backyard, his mother's flower pots, the box of old family photos he meant to bring in, were still outside. But he was already soaked, already exhausted, and Lucas still needed him. So Ethan stayed until the storm hit full force. Wind slammed through the street, branches snapped, rain poured like it was trying to erase everything. By the time Ethan finally ran back home, his yard was destroyed, furniture overturned, water soaked into the cardboard box, photographs blurred and ruined, mud everywhere. Ethan stood frozen on the porch, breathing hard, staring at what used to feel like home. Inside, his mother placed a towel on his shoulders. Her voice was barely louder than the rain. "Today you saved everyone's things." She paused. "Except your own." Something in Ethan cracked. Not anger, not sadness. Just a quiet realization. No one was coming. And if this story feels personal, if you've ever been the one who gives too much, the one who always shows up, then stay with me. Because what Ethan learns next might be the turning point you didn't know you needed. And the next morning, Ethan drove out of town, past the diner, past the church, past the familiar streets where everyone knew his name. He ended up near the river, at a small cottage where a retired teacher lived. His name was Mr. Callahan. People said he was wise, the kind of man who listened more than he spoke. Ethan sat outside, staring at the moving water. After a long silence, he finally whispered, "I don't understand what I'm doing wrong." Mr. Callahan waited. Ethan's voice broke slightly. "I try so hard to be good to people, but I feel empty. I feel tired. Not from work, from people." Mr. Callahan looked at the river. "This river gives water to everything," he said quietly. "To trees, birds, farms." Ethan nodded. "But if the river forgets its path, if it overflows?" He paused. "What happens then?" Ethan swallowed. "And it floods." "It destroys things." Mr. Callahan nodded. "Even something meant to give life can destroy when it has no boundaries." Ethan stared down. Mr. Callahan continued gently, "You don't need to stop being kind. You just need to stop disappearing." He offered Ethan one challenge. For 1 week, don't answer immediately. Pause. Ask yourself, what will this cost me? And if the cost is too high, choose differently. Ethan didn't feel brave, but he felt ready. Monday came, and the first test arrived quickly. Lucas knocked on Ethan's door. "Ethan, I need help moving a cabinet. Just an hour." Ethan's body reacted before his mind. His mouth almost said yes. But then, he saw the broken porch steps, the leaking sink, his mother sitting quietly with a cup of tea. And he remembered the storm. He took a breath. "Not today. Lucas." Lucas blinked. "What?" "I can't today. I need to take care of some things here." Lucas stared like Ethan had spoken another language. "You never say no." Ethan felt guilt rise. His chest tightened, but he stayed firm. Lucas left annoyed, and Ethan stood there, shaking slightly, like someone learning how to walk again. Then he picked up his tools, and he fixed the porch steps. It wasn't dramatic. No music, no applause, just a man, finally showing up for himself. That night, Ethan slept deeply for the first time in months. Over the next few days, requests kept coming. A neighbor wanted help carrying groceries. A coworker wanted Ethan to cover a shift. Someone called late at night needing to vent. Ethan didn't become cold. He didn't become cruel. He simply became honest. I can't tonight. I'm not available. I hope you understand. Some people were confused. Some were irritated. One neighbor even muttered, "You've changed." Ethan almost apologized, almost folded. But then, something strange happened. The world kept spinning. Lucas asked someone else. The neighbor figured it out. People solved their own problems. And Ethan started cooking again. He cleaned his apartment. He took his mother for a slow walk by the lake. He felt present. One evening, rain returned. His roof began leaking. Ethan paused, waiting, almost expecting someone to knock, the way he always knocked for them. No one came. So Ethan climbed the ladder himself, hands shaking, working slowly. And when he finished, he sat under the repaired roof, breathing, not proud, just steady. Weeks passed. Ethan still helped people, but not at the cost of his own peace. And people began treating him differently. Not like a tool, like a person. Lucas stopped calling for every little thing. Neighbors stopped assuming Ethan was always available. Some relationships faded. Others became healthier. Ethan's home changed. His garden returned. His face looked lighter. And one afternoon, Mr. Callahan visited. He looked at the repaired porch, the calm in Ethan's eyes, and he asked softly, "So, did everything fall apart when you stopped saying yes to everyone?" Ethan smiled. "No." He paused. That's when things finally started coming together. The river behind them kept flowing, still giving, still moving, but this time, staying within its banks. So let me ask you, when was the last time you took care of your own life before rescuing someone else's? Maybe you don't need to give less. Maybe you just need to stop giving yourself away. Because sometimes, the strongest thing you can say is not yes. It's not today. If this story spoke to you, if you saw yourself somewhere in Ethan's journey, then let me know in the comments. Have you ever struggled to say no? And what happened when you finally did? Your words might help someone else feel less alone. And if you want more stories like this, stories that remind you to choose yourself, to set boundaries, and to grow stronger quietly, then subscribe and stay with us. Because the next story might be exactly what you need. Until then, take care of your peace.